Hello, this is Blissful Living with Itoro E. Bright, and we believe everyone can lead a happy, healthy, and fulfilled life. So we talk about 5 F's: faith, family, food, fitness, and fun. And today is a very special edition. I have with me in the studio my personal annoyance, my personal friend, and my husband, Emmanuel E. Bright. And it's a special edition, and it's so good to have you.
Thank you. I'm honored.
Welcome. So today we're talking about conflict and forgiveness in marriage. Conflict and forgiveness in marriage. You know, many years ago as a young person, I used to think that when you see couples, especially when they wear and cool, that they are very happy. That means they are the couple enjoying the highest level of bliss in marriage. Until I started getting the shocker of my life as I grew older, that what you see many times is not really what you get. So how do we move from that place where, before you got married, you're in love with this person, you cannot wait to get into the same home with this person, you call yourself morning, afternoon, night, you spend all your resources and you just get that thing done and the whole world has heard about it. I mean, you spend everything and you just have that very big, powerful, they're all excited. In some cases, safe, one partner or both partners are crying, as in tears of joy. And then you're like, oh, and then it's just a very, few months after we're hearing another stories. How do we move from that point to this point?
How did they move from that point to this point?
Yeah.
Or how do couples generally move from this point?
That point of plenty of excitement, and then as soon as they get married, it just looks like everything changes.
It used to be a bother for me. It's still a bother for me. And for me, the two extremes will be when you are crazy in love with the person, and then after 1-2 years of marriage, some people resort to fist you, and then it's not just beating. You are aiming at a particular part of the body that when you give the person
can
will
even
feel
pass
pain
out.
and that kind of stuff. It used to be a bother for me, but it's still an ongoing conversation. But I would say, maybe if I were an economist, I would say it's the law of diminishing marginal returns. I would say, but I'm not an economist. But I know that at some point you move from those butterflies when you're excited, you're in love, you can't wait to see the person, you're calling the person, and then when you get married, you're seeing the person you used to call every 2 seconds. The person is now under your roof. Some people say see finish.
And then they're usually of their best selves.
Exactly, but
they're usually of our best selves when we go out to meet people.
Exactly. So for me, the most important thing is that the love should not fall so deep down that it's difficult for you to fetch the feelings you want and take it to the surface again.
It shouldn't even fall. It should be like a transition into another level.
Yes.
Not an entire. That's not like saying from the butterflies to another level where is friendship even enough to qualify the word? And that's why we're talking about conflict today. I mean, you get married and then you realize, so your partner can even hurt you. So for me, one of the biggest shock was I realized when we got married, one of our cousins lived with us. I'm sure you know this story, I've said it over and over. And he's a man. And so he lived with us, and some things he used to do that I didn't like. I would complain, and then I remember telling him, I can't wait to get married, so I'm just going to get off your face, and you're not going to see me again. And a few weeks into our wedding, I can't remember what he did. I was so upset. I was like, don't worry, I have just 2 weeks left or so. And then I got married and I realized, the same area where he had a struggle and I was complaining about, you also had a struggle in that area. And it was a big shock for me. I was like, you mean I left what I was dealing to come and deal with the same thing again and all of that? But I think what happened was, as I continued to grow, I realized that when you get close to people, you get to discover some things about them that you didn't know. And then what you need to do is to adjust and then look at how to manage it. So talking about conflict, I know there are different seasons in marriage and all of that. What do you have to say about conflict? Why does it look like it's quite difficult to forgive your partner than it is to forgive other people? Someone else outside will do the same thing and you forgive, but when it's your partner, it looks like it's too much of a challenge to forgive. Why is that so?
One of the reasons is the deep emotional investment. There are things you're willing to forgive outsiders, as they are called, or friends or extended family, and you're not willing to forgive your partner because of the deep emotional investment. Feel you've become emotionally vulnerable to this person. You've become physically vulnerable to this person. Financially, you've opened up yourself, or what Nigerians would call see finish. After showing you everything, and then I have lots of expectations, and then all of a sudden, you disappoint me. In fact, if there's anyone that you should forgive the more, it should be your partner. But because you see so much of the person, and you set a standard for the person, emotional standard. Sometimes the standard you don't set for yourself, you set for that partner, it becomes increasingly difficult
because
to forgive the person.
Because you also make mistakes and you let go.
You're human. Marriage is not a competition for who is the better person. We are not perfect. We are all striving for excellence.
We
Just
all
keep
growing.
improving. That's the key thing.
So for others, we look at excellence, but for our partners, we look at perfection. We want them to be just the way we want it.
Exactly.
Meanwhile, daily from different issues, from how we see things, how we listen, how we act. We don't agree in many ways.
Yeah.
And then finding a way around those things,
Yeah.
and then it becomes a big challenge. So talking about conflict, we've had our own fair share of conflicts. Remember, we used to have conflicts more initially.
Yeah.
But as we grew older in marriage, and maybe we began to understand each other more. And some things we used to, get angry at, we began to adjust to. So one of the stages of growing up for me was letting some things slide. So I realized it's not everything you have to address. It doesn't mean I'm bottling up issues. It's just, it's not every time you talk and complain about, just let it slide. I mean, the other person is not perfect, let it slide. So that was one of the things I had to learn. Some men don't say sorry. I know some women also don't say sorry. But some men, with this cultural belief, they feel, why should a man be saying sorry to a woman? What you have to say to that, considering that we've had such complaints of women who say that their men don't say sorry. They don't say sorry, they don't say they are wrong. What do you have to say to that?
I think between a man and a woman, when it comes to who should forgive, who should say sorry, there's a power play. There's an unspoken power play. Somebody wants to assert some degree of control. I would say to the man, as much as you can, learn to say sorry. As a matter of fact, forgiveness should be a core competence when it comes to marriage.
A core competence, just like you're looking for a job. And then there are some skills that's required for you to get the job.
So
in marriage, forgiveness should be a
before
core
you
competence.
get there, these are things you should discuss. I mean, when you're still in the butterfly stage, the man and the woman, how do we handle the issue of forgiveness? Because if you get into marriage without marital intelligence, is a problem. Marital intelligence is a requirement for marriage.
Marital intelligence is a requirement. What would you say marital intelligence is?
Forgiveness, part of it.
Wow, that's a key part of it.
Yes.
Compromise.
Love is a given. Compromise. Shared risks. It's part of it. Collective decision making.
Yeah, empathy.
That's part of marital intelligence.
Empathy.
Knowing
that, putting yourself in the person's shoes and trying to imagine, why did this person act like this? Why did this person think this way? Because this is not okay. So one of the things I think we battle with, because I've also battled with it in the past, is I believe you should know this. I believe you should do this. I believe you should act like this. Meanwhile, that person is not thinking exactly like you, and it's difficult to always understand that this person is not thinking exactly like you. So we have admitted that. I mean, even the best of couples have conflicts. It's how it is managed that is important. Forgiveness should be a core competence in marriage. Marital intelligence is necessary. It's a requirement for marriage. Yeah, and then there's something I heard once, that don't judge your loved one by their actions, judge them by their intentions. At the core of everything you do, remember that your partner loves you. Especially if you have a good relationship, you've had a good relationship in the past. Sometimes we bottle up so much and then we explode. It's like a fuel tanker going, and then it's filled up to the brim, and then at the end of the day, just this little smoke, it's up in flames. Because why is that so? Because the tanker could not wait for an opportunity to explode. So I think that brings us to the point of addressing issues. Addressing issues. How do you handle it when there are issues on ground? Because how do you wake up? One of the media team shooting this, we're talking this morning, and then he said that one of the fears he has about marriage is, how do you wake up to a partner who just gets up, packs his or her things and leaves the house? How do you even get to that point?
But it's still that concept. We've always talked about sweeping things under the carpet. And someone said, we've swept so many things under the carpet that the carpet is now full and dusty, and there's no one to clean it. One of the reasons this thing happens, when you wake up and then the person wakes up, carries the bag, nobody's mad. At least you check the person's level of mental health before you marry the person. That should not be a given to you. You should also check, how can this person cope? But unresolved conflicts is key. Over time, there's a conflict, we swept it under the carpet. There's another conflict, we swept under the carpet, and over a period of time, it might even be that little conflict spark, and then the thing just blows up, and then you're wondering what happened. So it brings us to that issue. There's need to, as often as possible, resolve conflicts.
As often as possible. So as a man, as a woman, we should always bring ourselves to a point where we are willing to resolve issues with our partners, because we don't want to get to a point where it explodes.
And at the base of it, effective communication.
Effective communication.
Someone said one of the reasons why marriages break down is because of communication. I remember one of friends said, no, it's not it's lack of effective communication. Because you can be communicating, but the communication is not effective.
One of the ways I think can be effective with our communication is when your partner is trying to address issues. Take for instance, something happened and then your partner finds the time to say, so earlier today, remember what happened? I'm not in the mood. They just cancel it. What you have just done, for you it may be okay because truly you are not in the mood. But maybe just even listening to your partner can help your partner feel better so that they don't explode. So you are not in the mood, quite all right. Maybe we are also different kinds of people. Some people want to address issues on the spot. Some people want us to let the issue slide and address it later. Some people don't even want to address it at all. We should just let it go. It's gone. We have finished quarreling, so it's over. So we should resume normal life. But some people don't work like that. If your partner does not work that way, you need to come to that place of compromise, which is part of marital intelligence. You need to come to that place of compromise where you submit yourself, you yield to that communication so that your partner can feel better. It's not for you, but you know that your partner needs it to feel okay. So you agree for that communication to take place. Okay, so this makes you feel okay, I am sorry. And I also realized that it's possible to say sorry when you're not wrong. It was a tough thing for me initially, but along the line I realized one of the ways to help your marriage is to say sorry sometimes, even when you are not wrong. What it does is you value your friendship over the issue. You're not trying to prove a point out of the issue. When you're married, you're already married. That's why it's good to prove all your points before you get married. Because when you're married, you shouldn't be looking for a way to prove your point, any point again to your partner. Both of you are one. You are the point. You are one. There's no need to prove any point again. It doesn't make you shouldn't be feeling less because you apologized. You shouldn't be feeling, superior because someone apologized to you. And that's why I think it's a two-way thing. If this person apologizes today, we don't have to keep a calendar for it. But from time to time, you two apologize. It doesn't have to always be the other person. And then you don't really have to be the one who is wrong. So long as you want peace, that's what's important at that point. You say sorry and move on. Get your partner close. Draw your wife close to yourself. I'm sorry for what happened earlier today. Please, I am sorry. And then you give your partner a hug. And that settles it, even when you don't think.
I think for me, there's nothing wrong. I've seen it several times. We've done it severally. When you apologize, the person also apologizes to you for apologizing.
And then you now discuss the issues.
You discuss the issues and just for the relationship to keep going, to keep moving. Because even the concept of apology over time, apology is just I'm sorry. That's what we've come. That's what we learned from my parents. I've said I'm sorry. So even the tone self, I said I'm sorry. So what sorry. Again? What should I say? That's not fully. Apology is a process. Yes. Yeah. First of all, you acknowledge that it was an issue. Then you apologize and then make amends. You can call it 3 A's. You acknowledge as an issue, apologize, you make amends. And the best way to show that you're actually sorry is not to repeat the action that brought you to where relationship to where it is.
So you take note of that.
Yes.
And you don't do it again.
Or reduce. Because
make
sometimes
an effort. Because they have your partner. You can even say to your partner that I have heard you.
Yes.
And I'm going to make an effort to change this.
Yes. It may not be overnight.
Yes.
But I'm sure you can tell the difference from.
Yeah.
And then when you're told that as a partner, you too should also acknowledge when you see the changes. Say, I've noticed. Is that part of the script?
Go ahead, please. Go ahead, please.
Okay, so you see, I've lost my train of thought.
You were saying, just this small touch, I've lost.
You didn't have to now, because it's not part of it. We're talking about forgiveness.
But I saw something I wanted.
Anyway, I forgive you. Let's go ahead.
No, but you were saying something that you too should not judge that person based on how quickly you expect change.
Yes.
You should acknowledge the person's effort in making that change.
If it's a habit, you have to behave yourself out of what you behaved yourself into. It's not going to be overnight. Now it may be overnight, but again, it's a process.
I think there was one thing you said I can't remember the issues surrounding it, but I remember you saying, I am sorry. I promise I'm going to make an effort to change this, but you've got to be patient with me. Yeah. And that really got to me. Like, I think not even the fact that you're sorry, but they are going to make an effort. But beyond that, you've got to really be patient with me because, this is not going to happen overnight. And that really got to me. So maybe we need to break down communication to that level where you can actually let your partner know that I'm willing to do something about it. And I like this book that Gary Chapman, he wrote it, I think him and someone, but I can't really remember the second person now, but the 5 language of apology. They say when you apologize, you need to express regrets. Okay. So you must express regret. I'm sorry that I lost my temper and I yelled at you. That's the instance he used. I'm sorry that I lost my temper and I yelled at you. I'm sorry that the things I said came across that way. I'm sorry. Then accept responsibility. Don't try to blame somebody else for what you've done. If you're wrong, you're wrong. I was wrong. I shouldn't have done that. I mean, some people find it very difficult to admit that they were wrong. If you're wrong, you're wrong. Even to your children, even to yourself. So deal with personal issues where you cannot accept that you're wrong. Because you're a human, it is okay to be wrong. So I'm sorry, I was wrong and I shouldn't have done that. And then the next one he said is make a restitution. So you say, I know I have hurt you. What can I do to make it up to you? What can I think I like that. What can I do to make it up to you? I've hurt you. What can I do to make it up to you? And then genuinely repenting. That's what you just talked about now. So I want to change my behavior. And then I'll think of ways that will help me stop these things. Or ask you, can you think of ways that can help me stop this? I want to change this behavior. Can you think of ways that can be helpful to me? And if you're the partner at that point, don't start criticizing. Actually, intentionally, share ways that can help. And then requesting for forgiveness. I value our friendship. I hope you can forgive me.
Yeah, I like that. I value our friendship. And I hope you can forgive me. Yeah.
As you prepare for marriage, if you're not married, it is important to look out for someone who's ready to give their all to the marriage relationship. The same thing if you're already married. I mean, as you're listening to me, it is important to have at the back of your mind that you're going to give whatever it takes to make your marriage work. And God bless you if you have a partner who's willing to do the same. What this means is that you're not going to be looking for ways to, find excuses. You're going to have challenges, quite all right. But because you know that it is given that will make this work and we are happy at it, then you're going to make an effort, and then both of you make an effort together. So talking about that, I want to talk about silent treatment. I mean, that period where things are not so good. I mean, we all have it. That period when there's a bit of conflict, there's no agreement in different issues, and then you want to give yourself that silent treatment. I think we've had our own fair share. But somehow these days we've been able to manage it. Okay.
As you get older, you should expect. How long do you marriage? Your marriage cannot last 120 years.
So why are you giving?
How old were you when you got married? So how long do you have to
be married? So why not just be happy?
Why not be happy?
Why not just make peace?
That's my philosophy.
Yeah,
that's my philosophy.
I think I also got to that place where peace was more important than trying to prove a point. So we all need to get to that place where peace is more important to you than proving a point. I remember there was one time. What's our longest silent treatment?
Our longest silent treatment. Interestingly, in church, I don't know. It's you can practice that too. Don't let your anger get down before.
I hear people say they've never slept without apologizing. I envy you people. Congratulations, but we not reach there.
We've done 1 day. We've done 2 days.
We've done 1 week.
We've done 1 week. I think 1 week, maybe 1 week
was like our highest.
But
that's not even recent.
1 week plus. That was way back.
That was way back.
Because that's why in communication becomes important and essential. If you have regular effective communication with someone you love, the longer it takes, the longer you can't wait to get back into the relationship, because there are gists you need to pass on to the person, update
what you have missed,
what you should do regularly. But if there's no effective communication in the same place, it's almost like the same thing. And what causes this long periods of silent treatment? One of it, I'll say, because there are quite many, would be pride and self-esteem. Some people are naturally proud. She ought to apologize to me first. She ought to show some level of I'm sorry in herself before I now give her the higher level of I'm sorry. So pride is part of it.
Then it was the one that said something back to me.
Then there's emotional vulnerability. You don't want to be emotionally vulnerable, and you can even tie that to culture. In a culture where men are not supposed to say sorry, we are from this part of the country, and in that part, a man has never said. A man
is a title. This is supposed to be.
Interestingly, and the people who reinforce such thoughts and notions are friends and family. You have a group of friends who say, I know a man, I have never apologized to my wife. And the funny thing is that man may actually be apologizing to his wife.
That the person advising you may be apologizing at home. And then that's not even just the issue. That's one side.
Yes.
Many times the person, even as a lady, sometimes the person advising you, I can't take that. She has taken much more than that.
Several times.
But you're not aware because that's what she's telling you.
You just want to look like the boss lady, a big girl.
Another thing is that person advising you not to do it? Is that person also happy? Because one thing is, the most important thing is you want bliss. You want to be happy. It's more important than anything anybody tells you.
There are blanket thoughts, answers, decisions you shouldn't take, because no two marriages are the same.
No two marriages are the same. Your marriage is unique in its way.
Different.
Check what your values are and live by it. It's not everything that you take from people.
Yeah.
They may not be telling you the truth. Two, you may not like to be in the kind of marriage they are in. So if you want a better marriage, they don't.
You
do
don't
it
even know. And I keep saying something. You know in parts, and you speak in parts. And I gave this example, real life situation of a man and a woman who wear and go to a party, sit on the same table, hug themselves, play, dance together. Because they need to do that for the cameras. Now that is social media. Before then, to do it for the public, and then they drive in the same car home. Once they open the gate and the car is parked, they go into the same building, but they go into 2 separate rooms. They have 2 separate chefs. They cook same house. Husband eats from a different chef, wife eats from. So the only thing they do when they go out is just for the appearances.
So outside the home.
Yes.
Outside the home.
Yeah.
They are a couple in a marriage.
Yes.
In the home, they are tenants. They are tenants.
They are flatmates. They are tenants
in the house.
They are flatmates in the house.
That's what's happening sometimes.
But you cannot
And then
tell.
when you go out and you see all of that public display, you say, "Oh, if only you know the reality." That's why you shouldn't anchor your marriage on any other marriage.
Yeah.
You should.
You can learn from it. You can pick the positive from it.
Yes,
but ultimately,
many times the grass is not greener on the other side.
Yeah.
So the silent treatment thing we're talking about, I said earlier, as we continue to grow in marriage, we began to improve. Initially, doing the silent treatment thing, what we used to have is essential, like you call it essential services.
Essential services.
Good morning.
Yeah, essential services.
I'll come up by 10. Your food is ready. Have you not even have you eaten? But at that point there are no calls. Are you on your way home? Nothing like that. What's it called?
Your food is ready, and then you eat. Those essential services are also very important because they keep conversation going. The kind of silent treatment or the malice, as you were, that's not
that
important. You just wake up. Nobody says
by the grace of God.
Those essential services are very
good morning,
important. Good morning. Welcome. You don't have to say how was your day,
but welcome.
Understandable. Welcome. Your food is ready. The whole idea of you don't have to say where you are going to, but you are leaving. I'm not giving you food. I'm not eating food. That you are going to dangerous terrain, and that's why I think with results before we got married, or I started it. I don't for myself. It wasn't a good decision.
Okay.
That no matter what my wife does, I must eat her food. I took that decision. I remember I took that decision as a single, and in the last, it's going to be 18 years now, almost 20 years now. I've not failed. You can acknowledge. If you serve me food, I will eat it. I don't have quarrel with food. I am food. We don't have any issues.
So you don't have any misunderstanding.
I need that strength to work.
So you cannot transfer your misunderstanding with me to food.
Yeah, can you transfer aggression to food? The food is supposed to help you solve the relationship issues. And you are now angry with the food. If you're angry with the food, what should the food do? Leave the innocent food alone. Eat it.
So that's why I said that it's important that both parties. Actually, successful marriage begins when you are single. That's why I said so, because I made up my mind before I got married that one, I will stay married. Whatever is required from my own end to make the marriage work, I will do it. Everything that is required for me to do as a wife, I'm not going to watch and see if my husband is doing his own as a husband. I'm going to do mine as a wife.
Exactly.
So I came in with that decision to do everything in my power that a wife should do, irrespective of how the man responds. So now you came in with the intention that I would not reject my wife's food no matter what goes wrong.
Yes.
So whether you like it or not, there were results we have made without even discussing it before we found marriage. So God bless you if you find, because again, one person cannot succeed in marriage. Where marriage is working, it means that the two people are committed.
But is that not also why it's very important? I think premarital counseling is extremely important, just like the counseling you have during marriage, because singlehood or being single is a call to healing. It's a call to peace, inner peace, because when you get into marriage, what you're bringing is some percentage of that peace into relationship. So being single is a time when am I at peace with myself? Am I healing from past traumas? You should be more concerned about that's where you go see a therapist if you have an issue. Try to resolve, because you transferring it into your relationship will only cause more problems. In fact, you may not tell the trauma the person you're getting married is coming from, but once your kind of trauma hits his or her kind of trauma, it may be a spark. It's just like saying you're combining malt with wine. It looks okay, but you can never tell the chemical components and how it will affect your body.
It's like saying both of you are coming into a clean house with everything dirty.
Yes.
Dirty property.
Hoping
dirty
that
clothes,
this person will clean your house, and the person hoping that clean your house. But you come back with garbage, your house is clean. And then you start looking for people outside extramarital relationship,
emotional anchor,
to come and clean that stuff. And that's the silent treatment aspect, emotional anchor. Because if you go for hours
without
talking to yourself and days,
you have to
you
look
are
for
human
anchor.
being.
Yes.
You have to look for an anchor, and that anchor can be physical,
Can
it
be
can be
alcohol.
emotional, it can be financial.
Yeah.
Financial means let me focus on making money and leave the relationship. Emotional is let me look for someone that loves me.
Or
And it can just be little friendship,
to,
or I'm attracted to,
let me
or
just
show me some green lights at work, before you know anything. It could be physical. Let me hit the gym, and then you neglect the most important thing.
So the emotional anchor
can
can be negative and positive,
yes,
and mostly negative.
Yes.
So be careful, because if you allow the silent treatment stay in your relationship for too long, you may be pushing your partner to look for an emotional anchor elsewhere. Now, God help you that the emotional anchor is not something that they can get hooked on, such that after you have resolved the issues,
God help you that the emotional anchor is not anchored to another emotional anchor. Because it makes it more challenging. Because it's who gives in first. Because you owe that person. I helped you anchor, and therefore you have to help me. You can't just detach yourself and go back to your relationship when I still have a love deficit, or an emotional deficit
with you. So bottom line, forgiveness is possible. Conflict happens, it's given. Forgiveness is very possible. So how many times should you forgive? Just keep forgiving.
Yeah.
How often should you forgive your partner? Just forgive. Love your partner enough to know that they will hurt you. And then make room to
That's why we said, in fact, let's put it this way. In marriage, forgiveness is capital.
Forgiveness is capital. Everyone should bring such capital.
If you want to go into the investment called marriage, forgiveness is capital, just as it is a core competence.
If you want to go into the investment called marriage, both parties should bring the capital called forgiveness into that relationship.
Yes.
Shouldn't be one person. Both.
And if for any reason that investment goes down, there's nothing wrong with recapitalizing.
Yeah. Restock on it. So forgive. I mean, remember the good. Remember the good that the person has done. And then remember that we are not perfect. You are not perfect either. And then don't judge the person by your own standards. Judge the person by his or her own standards, or his or her own level. And then remember that if someone outside had done the same thing, you would have forgiven easily. So we shouldn't raise our expectation of our partners to an unrealistic level. So we begin to have deep issues when they hurt us. Some years ago, I can't remember the interview we had, where I was saying during the interview that I love you now more than I loved you at the beginning. So when we left that place, I began to ask myself, why is that so?
It was interview on DSTV.
So I was saying, I just said it. It just came out of my mouth, and I realized, it's actually true. I actually love you now more than I loved you at the beginning. So what can you do to love your partner more as you get older in your marriage, your relationship gets older? What can you do to love your partner more than you loved them at the beginning? Talk about how people apologize. How does your partner apologize? So some people don't say I am sorry. So what are the other ways?
Some people apologize with gifts.
So they just, something happened, and
some people apologize with their time. They spend more time with you.
So you just notice, instead of going out, person just begins to undress and decides not to go out again. Or the person left but came back earlier than usual. And then comes back and is trying to raise conversation.
Or comes back with your pizza if you're the pizza kind of person.
Or before you come back, there's this meal. A very special dedicated prepared for you. Table is set for two.
I think it's a big apology language. If a man that ordinarily does not cook for you now starts cooking, he has inconvenienced himself to cook for you. For me, I think it's important for the man to say I'm sorry, or the one to say I'm sorry. But sometimes if you have to wait for that sorry, you may just waste quality days
and time
when the person has already said sorry in a different way.
I mean, how many years do you have to be married on earth that you don't want to enjoy it while it lasts? So understand that sometimes your partner may not apologize verbally. They may apologize through their body language. There are different languages. Spoken words, just one out of it. So there is also the body language. The person, your partner can come and then offer a hug.
In fact, so if they say communication, more than 60-65% of communication is body language.
Then we should begin
verbal
to
is 30-something.
So maybe we should begin to consider that form of apology.
Yes.
So it means that
it's valid.
So it means it's valid, and then maybe as you watch this video, maybe you want to begin to consider those other forms of languages as a means of apology, so that you can stay happy in your marriage. So refilling the love tank. So how do you refill the love tank? After a disagreement, you should be able to make it right with your partner. I think one way to keep the love tank full or to refill it is not to repeat the same offense again.
As much as possible.
As much as possible. As much as it's within your power. Don't repeat the same thing you've done again. And then find out what you can do to make it up. Yeah, what can I do to make it up? Go out of your way to do something special to make it up to your partner. Maybe you're watching this video now and then you know you've offended your partner. Maybe you want to put a call through, send a text message, and just say something you appreciate about your partner. And then, of course, I'm sorry, and I appreciate this about you so much. And I just want you to know that I'll always be here for you. I think you should always end with that assurance that we are in this for life. I remember there was a point, I can't remember, but it must have been 1, 2, 3 years in marriage or so.
Yeah.
It looked like we're having too many conflicts. And I just stopped one day and said, see, anything I've done, just forgive me. Because I'm not going anywhere. You see this marriage? I'm not going anywhere. See, whatever we need to do to make this thing work and be happy, just let me know, because I'm not going anywhere. You know, so maybe sometimes we need to say that as you apologize, and also remind your partner that I'll always be here and I'm committed to this. It goes a long way. And so there's a place of sending a message to say you're sorry, a place of putting a call through. There's also a place of sending a gift. There's also a place of going the extra mile to do something.
In fact, what I'll say, that's me personally. The degree of grievance, the degree of offense, your gift, or is it gift this time around, whatever you're giving to say I'm sorry, should somewhat equate.
It should be more.
Should be more.
Should be more.
Should be more than
because
that.
it's compensation.
Yes. And then sometimes is that sacrifice. But the one of the greatest is a change in behavior. So for example, marital infidelity or infidelity, like we speak, is a big offense. It's not something you say I'm sorry and move on.
And you move on.
Come on.
You should consider medical screening, first step. You know. Second step, how do we rebuild back that trust?
Yes.
So are you now permitted, my phone will always be open, you can always check. Anywhere I go to, I must mention it's all of those things.
A major habit change. Because again, at the end of the day, you want to build back trust. You want to build back that trust. So it's very important.
Because whether you like it or not, something has
don't just slap up the hand and all those. It's quite different from you're shouting at me and all those stuff. I mean, so check that out. And the greatest form of I'm sorry is a change in habit, is a habit change.
The greatest form of I'm sorry is the habit change. Are there moments of dryness? Yes. Moments where we just don't feel it. I can't explain it. Sometimes there are no reasons. So no misunderstanding sometimes.
The way I see it, there are moments of where you need to, is it rejuvenation? Looking for the right word. A period where you go 1-2 days without talking. It allows you to introspect. You need it. You introspect. Think about the marriage. Because sometimes between the chat and the love and the talk, you are clouded with so many things. But when you're a little bit distant from yourself, you're able to think through who you are, what happened, what relationship. But the whole idea is when you bounce back bigger. At the extreme is where people have issues. And they say instead of divorcing, separate. Period of separation allows you to think about that marriage. If you are divorced, there's no opportunity. You're right. But if you're separated, you can think about relationship. At the lower end of the spectrum is when you're having issues. 2-3 days you're not speaking. Marital service, you're not speaking, and then you now think about what's really happening. But how did we get here? But I really love this guy. So, but what are we going to? And then when you get back, it becomes stronger. In fact, try it. If you've been in the same house with your spouse for 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, the day you travel for 1 week, how does it feel? By the time you come back, relationship blows up. So what it does, the sex blows up. Everything just goes up to the roof because that little period
allowed you time to think about your partner, to reflect on your relationship, and then see really what you enjoy. And talking about thinking, So one of the things that I have personally, one way that I constantly keep the love tank full is to brood. Let me use that word. Intentionally. To brood on our good times. And the good things about my partner, to intentionally meditate about them. Because everything starts with the mind. Even when there are issues and you have misunderstanding, if you continue to brood on the issues, the problem, what the person said, that was how he did it last week. I remember the other month, that's what he did to my sister. I remember the other time too when my mom came, he said this to my mom. I remember that day when I said this, he used this word. I remember the moment you keep brooding on that negativity, you realize that you continue to develop resentment towards your partner. As a matter of fact, the bitterness continues to extend. By the time you get home, you are angrier than you were when you left in the morning. Seeing your partner, you are angrier with your partner than you were when the issue happened.
Is it not also interesting that between science and psychology, it is proven that humans are wired to remember the wrong things
quicker and
easier than the right things. So even if you did 100 things that are positive to your spouse, if there's only 1 or 2 The mind goes. It's quite
How to know
interesting.
this thing is,
It's quite
right now
interesting.
pick a pen and write the positive sides of your partner. Let's see how many you can list. Now pick a pen also and write the negative parts of
You will
the
have
sides
filled
of your
up a
partner.
page with negative.
Let's see how many you can list. Then you see what we are saying. So it's easier to remember the negatives than it is to remember.
So you have to
the positive. So you
intentionally.
have to be intentional about focusing on the positive.
I love this part of this woman. I love this. This is why I married this woman. This is why.
So that's
it
what
makes
I
it
do a
easier.
lot of times.
So as far as marriage is concerned, marriage should be exciting. Marriage is exciting. Marriage is about shared decision making. It's about shared risk taking, and then it should come
Shared
with
joy.
Shared joy. It should come with enough emotional bandwidth because it is required if you really want to thrive in marriage.
Yeah. So I would say that a lot of times the peace in your home contributes to your overall peace in life. So when you're in a blissful marriage, you enjoy more peace. So don't pretend about it. Bliss is important to you. So make it a priority. Give it what it takes. Conflict is normal because we are humans. Be quick to forgive. Forgive faster and let go. And then bring back the spark in your relationship. So till we come away again next time, do take good care of yourself and remember to lead a very healthy, happy, and fulfilled life. Bye.
Bye.